Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jansen Art Studio. I'm Dave Jansen. We are starting some of our studies of painting camellias. This is going to be a wonderful set of smaller painting lessons here, showing you some different ways to paint some of these beautiful flowers. So, the camellias, in a lot of ways, in a lot of aspects, can look like a rose. Now, what I have here is just some beautiful reference photos of camellias that I kind of want to paint some different. We'll paint some different colors, some smaller compositions of them. And I think we'll have a lot of fun. First thing, what I have here is a larger board. This is a 12 by 16 board, and then I base coated this with some little bit of black and white and some yellow oxide to make this kind of a gray color here. Colors that are, any kind of gray. I go all the way back to the Dutch, where the Dutch said that flowers look their best on gray. So I usually start with that, and then I'll change the background as we get to painting. The first thing I want to do is look at some of this and say, because we have quite a few compositions I want to do, and I love some of these different flower compositions, different positions and stuff, and kind of like put a way in which I want to come down. Now, a lot of times I'm going to do some vertical ones, but I want to do a horizontal one here. And I'm just going to take a small filbert. We're going to paint with our global colors. These are the colors, the heritage acrylics that are mixed with extender. If you go over to our Jansen Art online website, which is our online there. It has a lot of educational videos. You'll see some of that, how I do that, how I mix up colors. But basically, I take the heritage acrylics like this, I squirt them into a little medium cup like this, and then I add about 10 or 20% of extender medium, just a big just a big thing of extender medium, and whip it up and let it stay open for a few hours or a day or two, and the paint will thicken up. As the water evaporates out, the paint will thicken up, and it just slows down the drying time. You could also paint this a little bit more acrylic. And the colors that I have out here is our 6 color set. Then I add some extra ones like the yellow oxide. This is Darty Light Yellow. I might use that this time. This is Brown Matter. There's a few extra colors that I add out here. This is a quinacridone violet, and I really like that one, that particular color, so I'll probably be using that as well. We'll get into it. But one of the things I like to start out with as I do this is just take a small filbert. These are the fusion filberts. This is what I'm going to paint with. Some of these in 6 or 8 a size, and then I'm going to start out here first with a 6. Set these photos off to the side, and just a little bit of extender. I use many different kinds of colors. A lot of times I just grab a little burnt sienna here, and I'm just going to sketch here for just a minute how I want to paint a flower here. I like this kind of one set back up, like maybe about like that. Of course, we have lots of compositions and stuff, but as I use a bunch of photos to just get an idea how I might want to paint something here. And so I'm just going to put a little sketch in and pull some of the color out, and maybe reference a photo so that one one will sit right up there, like that. I like this lower one down here that comes down here and may sit right down in to this area here, almost like a round. And so I use multiple. I don't copy one photo. I'll use lots of things here and develop my designs here. So I know I want to put something else. I like where I have, like right here, 2 of them like back to back sitting, maybe 2 of them sitting just like that, rounded in real close and formal here. Sometimes I put in formal, areas like here. I'll get a real formal area here. We'll pull some color out just like that to see where where that center might be in here. And sometimes I will spread them out. This one I'm going to put in a few of them a little bit formal, a few smaller little buds of some of these right here would be nice. Right in there, a little bud of one, maybe a little bud or back. The thing is, you can have backside ones too. You can have just a little backside. Now, this leaves me quite a space that I could drop one in. I could drop one right in here that is a little bit more formal. That would kind of round my composition here, which that would probably work. So we'll put in a little bit right there to say that right there. And then, they have huge leaves. They of course it depends on the variety. The ones that I used to grow, the camellia tree I used to have, had just really huge leaves. And so we'll make a note of that with some of our leaf shapes here coming down. And some of them just kind of fading off to the side here. This might be kind of pretty here. Well, hopefully it should come out okay. And put a few of these larger leaf shapes coming out here, out like that, dropping down. Yeah, that'll be kind of nice. Let's go in and start to. So I set that in. Now the other thing is I'll start to set in some darker colors, contrasting colors, cool darks. This is going to be my pine green and some red violet here. This will be some of my core darks, what I call my core darks. So some of you that paint with me, this is a little different than what I start out some other paintings with. We'll start this out a little bit different here. And we'll set this up and set up some of this core dark right around here. Almost like those of you who follow along with my DVDs and the teaching that I do, almost like we did with the optical painting of Eugene Pettit, setting in some contrast here, which really affects the way in which you see. And darker colors like this will make all your lighter colors look lighter. It'll come out really nice. But this will optically give me some contrast here and make my light colors appear lighter without having to make them too much lighter. So I'll put that in, and let's just go with our bigger brush here for a second, thin some of this color out, and get a little bit more green into some of this here. I'm going to leave some areas lighter, but some areas here I want to take up more color, vary the color a bit, and really put on some nice strokes of heavy color like this. And we're going to really make this whole painting here very casual in its expressions of its painting here. So we'll put out some very, very casual brushing and stuff. Maybe we'll slide this more towards a yellow here, a warmer kind of color. And all this will change. I will change all of this as I'm painting. Let's tone that down, a little bit of red into it. See how that grays and browns that down? Yeah, that's pretty. I will change a lot of this as I'm painting because we're going to add all kinds of colors to it as we paint. But this helps me come in, move some color, set up what I would call the light and the dark of the painting here. So I'll have some light and dark areas here, some areas that will transition here. And I use the green. I use the green because this is really the feeling that I want to give to this painting is green and bushes and leaves and a lot of stuff going on. And then I'll some of the colors that we're going to use in the painting, the red into the red violets and quinacridone, maybe a little green into that so it's softer. And let's just push some of that into some of this area here as well. Now, why? Because this will represent back flowers, back edges, things in here that, of course we're going to paint this down and add more touches and stuff. But this gives me a feeling of other colors into the painting here. Other things that, like this will be back, Camillias there into the back and everything. So you want to, you're painting an entire area of things here. And so we want to just kind of blur some of this out, get some green, some other things going on back here, You know, what is some of this stuff? This is just stuff here and colors. And of course I'll change this. I'll add more stuff to it later, but I want to give the feeling of color and movement. And you know, I'm thinking things back behind these main camellias here, other things back behind these main camellias as we're going to start this painting here. So there's a lot of different ways. Of course, the other ones, I'll show you some other things, but there's a lot of ways to start paintings like this. This is one of them. Now, so we have some pine green here. Let's take a little white and maybe a bit of our red violet into that, or some quinacridone, just to gray it down just a bit. And we'll put in some of the other green here. Not perfect, just some quick little touches here that will represent the other leaves. Stuff around, we'll, you know, just drop those in, just those big oval leaves and other little things going on. Very casual. I'm not perfect or precise. I'm just dropping in. It's that's going to be a bud there. It's almost like what I always call it is color blocking in. You know, just kind of blocking in a few things here. And by doing it this way, it helps me keep my casual feeling to the painting. Getting some blocks of color in and keeping a nice casual feeling to the painting while I do that. Let's do a little bit more. A little quinacridone, a little light, kind of a toned green color, grayed green color. One or two little leaves there coming out. That's kind of nice. And of course I can change all of that. This is just real quick statements that I'm putting in here. Now, I want reds to real light quinacridone colors as we base in some of these beautiful camellias. Here's this quinacridone in white. We can gray it down here. Look at this pretty soft grayed color just by adding some of that green in there. And let's push that right in. Maybe little touches of the warmer red or so to that as well. Here, cooler in the back, warmer. And again, I'm just putting on areas of color here. I'm not being too precise. This is really some of my students are probably having a little bit of a heart attack right now. But you have to get casual. Let's put in some casual reds right in here. Right in there. That's a back. Like that's going to be one sitting back there into the back. Take some of that casual red. Let's stake that into the center of that one. Okay, let's get casual. Let's get some naphtha red light, some red violet here. That's pretty right in here on this back turned one. Maybe a bit more naphtha red light, even a bit of the light so it goes a little bit more pink color here for this one. That'll sit there. So you have one in front of it, and sometimes I take a little bit of that color and touch it into some of the others. Move your colors very quickly here. Let's just move some color into the painting here. You see different little blobs like this. Could be other little petals and stuff going on. We're just going to move real quick. And that's what I'm trying to do, is go real quick so I don't get too stiff. Let's take some more of this light. Let's push that right into there. We'll change some of this color. This is a lot of naphtha red light, and which is warm, and some white grayed down just a bit there. Here like that. And maybe a bit of red violet and quinacridone. Even a little bit of our red right into the center there. Just push in and out. That's pretty. Let's take some of that right down in here. Right into this one. See, I'm just changing up the color a little bit as well. Push some dark into that center. Thing is paint loose. Push in and out. paint loose, paint quick. Let's paint very quick. Take some red violet and naphtha red light. And just paint very quick some edges there. Maybe this just loosens up back there. Something else going on back there. So you see all this movement and stuff going back. So you'll pick up darker greens down into there, cooler colors down into there. Maybe picking up some dark green through here. Okay, so everything is changing. There's not, that's what I'm painting for. Just real quick masses of color here. Boom. Just like that. Okay. I'll wipe that brush for a minute. And I always change paper towels quite a bit, so you'll see me grab paper towels, quite a few paper towels, grab them and change them out here like this. I'm going to lean this towards me just a little bit more with a roll of paper towels here, right up underneath that. Here, maybe that's a little too high for you. Yeah, you should be able to see that okay. So you see my colors coming through here. Now, I'm going to take a little darker green and just pull down just a little. Some of this I want to really build some nice deep volume of color, richness of color. So here I'll build more and more color. Here, more reds, more green, red violet, and pine green right down in here. Heavier. That's going to lift this, this area up here. And you'll see a working between the reds and the greens here. You don't really know, it's down in the shadow. Is that a flower down there? Is that some leaves down in there? You don't really know too well. You have a few ideas, but we're just moving that richness of that color down there like that. And then that's going to give you, this is something that a Couchoir and a Petit would do with their flowers. It's just magnificent how they do that. Work these colors like that. And magnificent how you get some of these depths and some of the back edges of stuff here. And I'm just working between naphtha red light, red violet, pine green, some quinacridone here, changing it up a bit here and there, getting some of those nice rich colors here. Boom. And a lot of paint. This builds up a lot of paint, which is really important in here for that depth and stuff of the painting here. So let's put in a touch of that dark right in there. Look at that beautiful richness that comes in there. And that's pretty good. And then we can get a little lighter. If we come out here towards this light, maybe a little yellow, little darulide yellow, or any kind of yellow, like a Hansa yellow, darulide. I like Hansa yellow as well in there. As you come out here, like coming out towards the end of the little branch of camellia here, we can come out of that and push in a little bit of our quinacridone violet there, but you see a little light coming out and through. That's what I want to do. Build that. It's just a building and a building of the painting here. Let's get a little lighter, maybe a little more yellow, a little white. Let's get our lights right up here a bit more. And I'll find good lights. Yellow oxide's really pretty. Yellow oxide into some of those other colors there. That's really pretty. But I want to, model it in here like this and try not to paint too long with one specific tone. So I'm moving it over. I'm moving it around here. Try not to paint too long or too many strokes with one specific tone. Change it up. And that's just going to give you a heck of a lot more pretty look to your painting here. At least with this one that we're doing. We'll show some other ways, but this one will be very pretty that way. here like that. Get some of that light in there. Let's get some of that yellow and pink back here. See that? See that color back in there? Let's get just a bit more of that quinacridone right back there like that. Real loose. There's a bit of that quinacridone right back there. A little toned. A little grayed, light. So I do have a light side and a darker side to the painting here. You know, highlight and shadow side here. But I'm just kind of working that all around. Now that sets up a really nice background here for, you know, some of my flowers and stuff to be painted coming in here. That's kind of pretty. Now, you know, Couchoir them too would come in with, you know, angles of light, a little bit of light passing through, you know, through every once in a while, a little bit of light, you know, and sometimes they would just do small little taps like this of that into their backgrounds and let that kind of fade out and that light. But you definitely have a light. Now you also have to watch this because this will dry down just a little bit darker than what you think. There, that's nice. See how loose that is? And color, you've got to imagine there's a little bit of other extra camellias back there. A lot of stuff going on. Let's go back to our bigger brush. Let's grab this one that is kind of this photo. Not that I'm going to copy that particular flower, but it's going to help me set that flower up. Now, let's use some, of course, our main painting colors here. We want the cool side is our red, violet, quinacridone, whites here. Warm side, we want to go with our naphtha red lights here. I do have some brown matter out here, which we might want to try a little bit on some, but maybe not on this painting, but some of the other paintings we might. And let's come in here. Let's take some light color, model these two right in here, maybe a little bit to warm it up. Let's just model ourselves a medium pink color here, and we'll use that to start to set some of the petals here. And I want to do, you know, the camellias a little bit more stroke, but not completely a stroke. I want to do some strikes of color here. So a little more light and just strike it like that so I get some definite movement into the petals here. Let's drop it down a bit here. Come out to the edge like this. That's a pretty color coming into that one. But I'm going to play back and forth, warm it up a bit so you can see the difference there, see? Get a little bit of warmth hitting in there, maybe an angle of light, an edge of light. Sometimes push that back and forth like that. The camellias, you know, a lot of them have really kind of stroke type look to their petals. That's where they're kind of pretty. And these definitely look like stroked flowers here. So, you know, using the filbert like this is kind of a nice way. Let's just kind of give a nice, just almost like a comma stroke is really pretty to the camellia here to give it that petal. Then we'll head a little bit more towards our quinacridone there and set that one maybe behind maybe an edge. I pick up an edge like this, and that allows me to draw a lighter edge to a petal that I definitely want to put up on top or in front there. Let's take a little Darulide and some of our red and just push a little Darulide right there into the center. That's going to give again a different modeling of color. We'll push a little heavier right in there. Just tap it in. Let some of that movement stay there. Don't paint it in too much. It'll all become one color. We want to avoid that. Let's go a little lighter, right back up out here, and we'll pull that edge in here. Maybe give that nice double petal stroke there to the camellia that they have. We'll pink it up a bit, push in and out of that yellow center there. That's kind of pretty. Just a real casual little Now we can put maybe a touch of light back there, like there's another little petal there. That's kind of nice, because they're all different kinds of petals. Let's build this one a little lighter and pull it in here. There we go. Push that like that. That's kind of pretty. A little bit light on this one. That's what we want. A little bit light. Let's set in. Now sometimes I'll pull, rather than turn the board, sometimes I'll pull out, and I do that so that I maintain the look, or the, this painting is going to hang this way on the wall, so I don't want to turn it, because sometimes I'll paint it out of perspective hanging the other way. So I'm really not a fan of turning it once I start it. I used to be, of course, for years and years as a stroke artist, but now painting all different kinds of genres, I'm not really a big fan of that turning anymore. So I'll put that in there. I like to, especially as I start to paint, I like to make my strikes a little bit less blended here. And I like to do like little half tones in between stuff. A little less blended, which means I try not to stroke it too many times, because that'll blend it. A lot of times I'll use my finger to add some movement or something like that to it. But I want to try to get strikes of color, what we call in a lot of flower painting, when you're talking about optical painting and stuff, we call marks, making marks of color. I want to have a certain bit of a stroke, but you don't want to take it too long. And then sometimes we come back and then we put on what we call the marks of color. Here I'll add, and I'm changing it quite a bit, so I'm adding a little bit of dark light to it, and I look at this and I want to put on this little mark, boom, of color here onto this petal like that, see? And that changes. See that you got the cool and you got the warm, and that's a mark. It's not as much as a stroke. I might come back and put a highlight mark, just a boom right in there like that. I'm not thinking stroke, I'm just thinking a highlight right in there. And I can soften that out. I can put a little pink off to its side there and lift off some, just a bit. I control that. I control this mark and how that looks. And so, sometimes I'll paint it more as a stroke, but a lot of times I'm putting on a mark. Now that's more of a stroke, see? I'm leaning on the edge there and stroking that out, giving it a little bit of shape right there to that particular part of the flower. Now I'm going to take some dark. We'll put some dark right in here into the center here of that part of that flower. Let's take a bit of our light and work that right in there like that. It's just very casual. And this is where, like if you get into a petted or something like that, we want to keep our marks very simplistic in here. We don't want to overpaint it, because we'll lose that contrast, that mark of color. That's a contrast there. That's really pretty there. It's really cool. I might want to put a bit of my two reds right there next to each other. Look what that does to that particular flower right there, and basically to the contrast of it. Really changes it. We can come out with a little bit more of our quinacridone here, lean it a little quinacridone and lift out just a bit like that. Get some different. Now he has a light petal. This one has almost like a strike, an edge strike right here, a color right across. That's just the edge of a petal like that. That's really pretty and different. And I'm going to try to capture that effect there, just around like that, just that edge. Maybe a bit of a softer pink right onto the edge of that, but not lose too much of that nice edge that I want to leave right there like that. That's pulling around and coming around like that. That's kind of nice. Maybe a bit of that right there. Kind of different and nice. A little bit softer pink right here coming out of that red. but I like that warmth red in there too. That's different. And see, so I'm using that one as an example, but I'm not copying, I'm capturing it. I'm not sure yet on the amount of light that I'm going to put here, but because I could want more, but I don't know yet what this flower is going to look like and stuff. So I would leave that for right now. But there is a bit of a smaller, slightly warmer petal. I do like it underneath this one here. Let's put just a touch of that cooler quinacridone on it. So most of it is just, I look at the photo. I'm not copying the photo for it because I'm going to change some things, but using it just as a nice little reference for how to paint something. Not copy the painting, but how to vary a petal, or looking for that little mark of this one right here, and it's just coming along. That looks really nice right across it. It gives you that type of idea. Now I put more light in here than what is on the original, but I like that. And that one there has a folded petal up to the front. I might just do that up on the top up there. I put a little bit of light on my brush right here, right on the edge. Do it more as a stroke or something here. We could fold this one over just a touch like that. The photo doesn't show it quite that dark, but just fold that over a bit. We might leave it like that. I might leave it like that. I might change that, but might leave it like that. Just as it's a different, and I might just curve that up a bit like that, just so that it picks up. We'll pull that out there like that. So looks a little different with that little mark there like that. That little petal mark there is a little different. Might be too much. If it is, we can always soften it back just a bit. Let's soften it just a touch here. Yeah, that's a little better. Just a little softer. And maybe a touch more light right to this side, since we're going to bring light in from the left anyway. Here like that. Let this mark just attach it like a mark, a little boom, 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 as opposed to a stroke. There we go. That's pretty. Alrighty. Let's work on a back one here. Give the idea. Let's look at one like this. Just a real blurry looking little thing there. And get some of our colors. Add a little extender, a little quinacridone, a little bit of red violet. Naphtha red light, excuse me. Let's come back and let's push this one. I was going to do it more open, but let's push it as a little back turned flower. So we'll put a little more red violet and dark here at the base, right where it's going to come right into those shadows there, and push that down. We'll let it go a little bit more orange and light and warmth up here. More stuff going on right up in there like that. Okay, I love the working of these two like that. The color. Matter of fact, I might take a bit of that right into that petal there. It's pretty. See, it changes it a little bit. We'll warm that up just a touch here. Pulling through there like that. That just warms that up. Now, let's do a little bit of shaping here. A little bit of just casual petal shaping here. A little of our orange, a little whites here. And like these are folded back together here. So it's not an opened flower. And let's get some of that quinacridone here. We want to keep it, as it comes down this way, a little bit cooler. Just little touches or marks here of petals. Just almost like a rose, closed up rose, the bowl of a rose here. And pull down, keeping it very, very casual. A little deeper red here. There we go. Let some of that just fade in there like that. That's what I really like. When you let some of that fading happen there. But a lot of paint. I'm using a lot of paint. get it just a little more dark down into the center or the throat of that area there. And then it's very much, I don't want to go too pink here. Get some of my my Naphthalene red light, quinacridone white here. Just kind of modeled. I just want to kind of shape these a little bit here without stroking too much. Without too much of a stroke. Let's hit a little bit of light here. Like that's just an edge of one there. The job is really, I want to paint a combination of marks and strokes. That's a little mark, just a little touch like that. And I want a combination of those little touches so that I don't, get these too stiff or stroked. We want combinations of those. Let's put a little bit of quinacridone and red into that. And just blur those in like that. See, just blur that, let those colors just kind of blur together there without having too much definition into that part of the painting. Let's just put out some more. I'm using a lot of paint. You can see that I'm having to adjust and load that brush quite a few times. I'm loading a lot of paint. Let's get some more red right down in there. And I'm just painting for movement more than anything else. Color movement. Maybe a few lines of a few petals here. But overall, not too much. Here, we could line a few little petals here. Or the idea of a few little petals. Not too much. Here, like that. That's pretty good. And let's take a lighter yellow-green here. We'll push that right down into here to its calyx. Here, let that come right down in there. Push those together there. And a little highlight there. A little highlight right there like that. Right next to that, let's get some of our darker, cooler color right up next to that in there. Just drop that right there and see how that separates that. This is your red violet and your pine green, some of your real darks in the painting, but see how that kind of separates that, sets that back. I'm going to small down this bud just a bit here. Just paint those two together there like that. And let's just take some of that nice deep red here. Quinacridone and red. Naphthalene red, and just paint those down like that. So that bud sits way back there like that. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Let's get this nice dark right up here next to this leaf, these two leaves, and that will pop that edge of the flower forward as well. This is what I look for. This is one of the techniques, the negative painting techniques that I use a lot in all of my paintings and stuff, is to come back in and set those darks like that. Let's set a little green coming out of this one here. And you can see how that, we can blur that edge there just a bit. But look at how that lifts that leaf right out there. Now we can gray, red and green and light, just gray that green a bit. And we can follow along of what a lot of quote-unquote fine art floral painters do. It's just paint half the leaf with the plane of the lighter plane, and the other half with the shadow plane, and it turns it just a bit here like that. We'll just let that just sit like that for right now. We're not done with that, but just let it sit there nice and quiet for right now, and we'll come on and touch in a little bit more lighter green right into that calyx there. That one's going in. Some of this grayed green. That's going to come right out of this leaf. Right here. Let's put some of that shadowed, darker, right up underneath that petal. Pull that out. And let some of that sit down in shadow like that. See, that shadow really helps. That setting shadow sets that. It sets the leaf down and lifts the camellia off of that. There. That's some of the stuff I look for. Now let's come down. We'll paint another one here. I kind of like the ones that turn like this. I don't like this fold there. I like kind of like this one. So if I maybe pick out one that's like that and turn and paint that one right there. So I'm not going to copy it completely. And of course I got to change the light on that one just a bit, but let's do that. So let's come in, let's take a little lighter color. We have some light. The light's going to come down. It's going to express into the lower part here of this one like this. And it's going to, this will be up in shadow here, because it's on the inside of the flower, and the flower's coming around and hitting that. So that's into shadow there. Here's the shadow here. The tips of this will come back up into the light again, though. The tips of this. One here, which is quite pretty. Let's get a little lighter. We'll get these lighter colors out here too, and it'll help calm down that other one there. And a few petals, just pushing back and forth here like this. Just kind of pulling in a bit so it gets a bit of a direction to it. But you see, I push my fingers a lot. This is one of the things I like to do. I push and pull with my fingers to work and incorporate those colors here. Push, and that gives me some movement. It's like I always say in quite a few of my DVDs of late, is I paint for movement. That's how I love to paint, is for movement. I'm going to take some of my quinacridone. I have a little bit of that brown matter there, and quinacridone violet, and a little bit of naphtha red light, just modeling that up there, and pushing that color. That's what I want to do, is push that color into that center of that one there. Get a nice dark, cool center there. Now that's really a lot of paint, and I'll have a hard time painting that right now. So what I'm going to do is just let that tack up a minute. I'm going to come down here and take some more of the red. Let's paint back up towards this one, which we want to turn as well. Here we'll give it its center. Turn that as well. Out like that. Here. All different kinds of ones here to look at. And I'm just going to make I want to make a lighter pink here. I don't want to just constantly make it from the naphtha red light. So I change it. I add a little quinacridone, a little bit of the brown matter here. So my pink color here is a little bit different here into this, and I just want to put a light color here into that, build this one up. You know, you have all different kinds of ones that, you know, petals that fold up more like this, which is, I should do a few of those, but you have these kind that I love too, that just push out when they're just opening up. They wrinkle and they push out. And so I'm going to kind of go between the two here and set up a shape of one, catch the feeling. So we'll pull in sometimes here, because I think one pulling in here will really do more of a stroke here. It will really bring it forward, but also help me round this painting down like that. as you see more of a structured shape rather than a real loose shape here. That's my plan. So we'll pull in a bit, let those come kind of formal there. There we go. And sometimes you can do that real thin little line, that pushed line of a petal there, like that. You know, optically, like Pettit and stuff would leave something like that. I like to just break that edge just a bit. But Pettit wouldn't bother at all. We painted those optical paintings. And if you haven't tried the optical lessons that I put out, you should try a few of those because they change the way in which you see stuff. And Pettit would just leave that. And I'm getting braver to be able to do that. I'm getting there. Let's get some of this nice, cool quinacridone down here into some of this flower down here. As we want to very casually paint some of this now down through here. We leave a little bit of the edge of a petal there. Little edge here. Maybe that one. And I don't want to keep it quite that defined right in there. So I want to push that back. Whether or not you just push and do marks or whether you do more defined petals, sometimes I don't know that until I get more of the flowers on. And when you're out of your center, you really don't want to do too many defined. Now see, I like little stuff like that, just quick little marks. Those are what we call marks as opposed to strokes. Just quick little marks like that to, they give you the feeling here of some petals right there, but that flower's turning, see? And they don't have as much as directional as, say, a stroke does, but here. There, like that. I kind of like that. Let's give just a little bit there of light. Push that back. Yeah, that kind of builds that front of that touch. And, we'll let this just paint in and out like that. Just give that flower some movement like that. Painting in and out. Boy, that take a lot of, that's taken me a long time to get the guts to paint like that. Now that's light color coming off of my finger. And that happens sometimes. I just kind of smear it around and let it be part of the painting. This is where, when you let this kind of smear around like that, get these real pretty kind of colorings and stuff happening. And boy, just let it happen. Just put a little bit of this red right in there and let some of that just happen right over there onto this camellia there on that side. That's really kind of pretty. Maybe a little bit of darkness right in there. Sometimes adding that lighter bit of yellow, right there, so you can really see it was the center. We'll add some right in there on that one there. Boom, there was that center. See, just boom, there it is. Just tap around a bit with some of that color. And let's come in and add some, there's nice, thick, like really thick light, nice Pettit technique light coming right there like that. Cool it, but light here. Pull down. Sometimes I'll pull up to the edge of it there. It makes that petal look like it turns there, like that. Let's add some right out there like that. Just little quick strikes. And lift off a little bit. Try not to blend too much, because then it doesn't have as much optical power to it. We're trying to paint a little bit like Pettit and Couchois and them and give a little optical power to our painting. So you can tap or stroke or touch, but another little strike here, like boom, like that there. But that's a bit big. But don't blend it out. Leave some of the color exchanges there between the light and dark. That's where you get more optical with the painting. So if you look at something that's like this, you see this turning here, this boom, light and dark. That's what Pettit and stuff would look for, and really paint that like that. Let's get this a little softer here. Maybe a little bit right in there. Just some movement here, like that. Get a little of that warmer red coming out of there. Let some of these petals just be. That's what's really pretty is, I have that one really structured, and then I'll go very optical over here. Just little marks. Maybe more of a petal like that, and that's a little straight. But we can reduce part of it with the shadow. There, like that. Just a little bit into it. There. And let's do more of an edge right here. So it's a combination of the optical and the stroke. That's kind of the look I'm looking for there. So here's the stroke coming in on this side where the light is hitting again. I'll let that go right in there to shadow with that quick little mark there. Sometimes I'll pick up that little edge like this and just touch right around. Let it hit those edges that you can draw like another little petal there or something. Right like that. Okay, here's the edge. Here, coming in like that on that one. There. That coming in there. Put just a little bit out here. Let most of that just be soft, fading away out there. That's pretty good. And you can build this up. Let's put another like little petal right in there coming through. Do you have an edge or something on it? That's, you've got to kind of pick out where's your light and what you're seeing on that. And, do you pick up that edge? That becomes part of your painting there, or the light. And here I'm a firm believer when I'm painting something like this is, if in doubt whether or not to do it, don't do it. Just let the flower sit. I don't have as much feeling of light yet for it, so I want to take my darker color here and push back a few of the edges back here onto this side here, taking away just a little bit of that light. So I got a feeling of the light hitting. I want the feeling of the light hits right up here, and it's kind of like a little petal that's bent. Comes right here, boom, right like that. The light hits, boom, and right there on that edge, there like that. Then it comes back in and the light hits again right down here. Maybe pull in a little bit like that here. The light hits here, there like that. So it hits the top and the bottom of it. Here we can pull out just a touch out of that center. Model that up just for some movement there. Yeah, it's coming pretty. It's coming. Maybe just little bits of ideas of edges here. Other little petals, just mostly just for movement there. Like that. Then, Pettit would come in and say, boom, there's another little light just hitting that one right there like that. And that would be okay. Let's put a little dose of that quinacridone right in here. Just boom, there's a cool part of that petal. See it going right against that warm. Now that that's kind of tacked up a bit, I'll put a stroke of that cool right in there. Man, that really looks nice. Just like it might look nice to take a little bit of that warm and just hit this edge here with a touch of that brighter, warm naphthol red light there. Maybe out at this edge here, hits that warmth right in there. That's kind of pretty. There. And that naphthol red, let's put a little warmth right into here too. There we go. And just, you can get wrapped up with the shapes of the petals here too much. You just want to kind of give an idea and some movement there. You don't want to get too bogged down in the precision of the petals here, just or their shapes, or worried about it, because you start to worry about is that right or not. And it's much better to do like what I'm doing here, just come back and touch and build them, than it is to get too worried about it. Let's put a little cool right back in here on that bottom side. Let that come out as that shadow, and we'll have that leaf there. That'll be kind of pretty. Out as you come out, let's just go out and paint a couple of, we'll come out right out into here, and I'm just going to model some color up in here, almost very casually, like like a rose shape or camellia here that you see, not really paint the center of it there, but kind of like give the idea of a center, give the idea of a petal or two here in more shape, just an edge of a shape like that, and the viewer will turn it anywhere they need to turn it to make it part of the painting itself there. So see, that just looks great, I think, when it's just set back there real casual. Let's set back a painting here. I think, myself, when I paint these and I paint fast like this and very loose, I think they look better than when I start to play too much and start to get them stiff. So when I paint fast like this and just put on some shapes here, pulling down, and like that's the back edge of one, and I think that is so much better, so much more casual and better shape and feeling to the painting than when I do too much. So we'll come back out here. We'll just put on some movement here, just like that. And see, in that, when you put them on real casual back here, like here's a little casual movement there, one going on there, that actually gives more shape to the ones that we're painting up in here. See? And a little better. Let's put a bit more of a rounding shape to the edge of that petal there. And you can do that at any time. Just come back with some of your lights and reshape, redirect some of this light here. Looking at that a bit more precise now, maybe that edge there right up on top of that one. So that comes in. This is kind of like turned into one of the main ones there. I'm going to, and looking at this one now, I'm going to go a little bit lighter right here, more of an edge. We're going to pop this up and stroke it back in, pulling in just a bit. And why I want to do that is I want to give almost like a little bowl here. This is pulling down like that. That's better. Here, we'll pull this one down here as well. Here, give it a little bit of a down motion and a little bit of an in motion right here. So that's coming in just a bit. But that down motion of that bowl there. And this one coming in, circling around that. Maybe I'll bowl this one up a bit too. Here. Boy, I like it when that just, you get so much paint on there and you just smear it around and move it a little. Boy, that gets really, really nice. Let's just curve that in just a bit. There. And, you know, sometimes you can get away with just dancing your brush a little bit here for some of that movement and not try to paint it too much. Let's see if we can get away with that. Maybe a bit more of a shape right in here. So I'm just using the edge of the brush here and adding just a touch more shape, bringing it up almost to the level of this one here. We'll add a touch more shape right to the front of this one, just with a little edge. Just see, I'm just defining the edge of those marks, and that brings them forward just a bit here. There, like that. That's a little too light. There. That's pretty. Little marks, little bits of those marks are really quite pretty. Let's get a little bit more of that light right onto this one. Maybe even a bit more of that edge. Here, like that. Oh, that's pretty. See how that finger just works that, and that's, sometimes, boy, that just happens so pretty. We'll put this more as a petal, a little bit of a stroke, and push that movement out like that. Yeah, sometimes that's really, really nice. Let's get just a bit lighter here, right up towards our lights and warms, our lights. There we go. Maybe just a bit more. That gives a you know, I like the contrast in that one, and the warm and the cool and the light, and I want to get that into just a few more of these here without getting them too white here, but it's a little bit more of that, and I like those real light hits, those marks like that here. Sometimes that, like I say, the paint gets really wet. That gets hard to do. So you let the paint dry, tack up a bit, move to a clean spot on your palette. Sometimes helps too, to load the white on. So it's a little bit drier. There. I like that real thin mark of that one. Maybe I can add another little thin marked petal there. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Lift this one out just a bit. And that thin mark of this one, pulling in just a little. That's pretty. So see, you can paint back and forth, add a little bit more. This one out here needs a little bit more. Just go give it a little bit more. Give it a little bit of an edge here. There, like that. That's kind of pretty. Let's just pop this edge just a little bit more. There, like that. That's pretty. Here. Now I still got that little bit of that V shape right in there that's not doing too well. That's where I go back and I look at some of the other flowers to see if I can find a shape on a flower, a little reference photo that might help me out here. But I think if I just give that, well, it's I can't be too much of a bowl because my flower here is a little bit flat onto this one side. So let's see if that's the center. It's moving in and out. Let's get ourselves out of this trouble. It's moving in and out. That petal would be going like that. In. If we had another one right here, it'd be pulling in right here like that. Yeah, that kind of works. Let's get a little shadow in there. Set this one down into the bowl just a bit more. Get a light little edge here, a bit more. Pulling in. That's kind of pretty. Let's get that. I love that quinacridone violet. So that's a pretty color on these. Let's get that right in, right up close to that yellow. Put some of that yellow back in there. It's real pretty, kind of opening up that flower. I like that little bit of light I dance, which the other ones here don't have too much of it, but dance a little bit of light that makes it look like small little petals, little things going on in there into the center. Very optical, something that you know, Couchoir and Petit and stuff would do anyway. So now I softened those out earlier, but I might put just a touch here and there. Yeah, that lifts that bottom of that off. Now let's go back and I can decide here, do I want to put this petal out like that here on that one there, which that might not be too bad. Here, let's get it real dark right there, because you know you can go from the dark to the light like that, and that really adds a lot. See how that adds to that, rather than having that white line going all the way across. Let's do that. Let's get our pine green out here. Let's gray that with some of our red violet, or you can use some quinacridone. That'll cool it, stuff, and then and also tone it down. See how it grays that out a bit. Now I want to paint. You know, you go look at all these things. You have the greens, the lighter greens almost go to a gray, which I really like, and I really like that up against the Camillias here, because that really makes the reds of the Camellia pop. So I'll do my greens, instead of real bright greens, I'll do them a little lighter and a little bit more gray, even a little bit of that diarylite yellow into that. That's pretty. Here, let's get a cooler bit of our grayed, darker gray here for the other side. So I'll have a light and a dark side here, and I wanna do them stroked out a bit too, so they get a little streaky there. So some of them have that little bit of stroke into them, little stroke look to them. Nice little light there. Gray it down. Let's get it darker green here too, more gray. Darker grayed green. Here. Back like that. That's pretty. So the dark, so that you can, you know, paint these leaves out very dark and put a few lights of the grayed color. You know, I like the half and half bit there. You know, there's real pretty stuff here, like that real light little vein line that you see there. That's kind of nice. You can take let's take a little yellow, diarylite yellow, a little bit of our green here. Just put that on just walk right into the edge of that. Use just the corner of that brush and push that in. and set it into place with a little shadow there. That's kind of a nice addition to that. Let's put one of those right up here. So boom, right out like that. And I'm using the big brush so I'd make it a little bit big, and then I will just pull the shadow right alongside it. I tend to do that whether I'm painting birds or painting vein lines or doing anything like that. I tend to overpaint it a little bit, make it a bit bigger or than it really needs to be, like the eye ring of a bird, and make it a bit bigger than it needs to be, and then I paint it down with the dark. I find I get more control that way, and I like to do that. So we can add just little touches of that light out there to that leaf, right up next to some dark there, little touches of that. And let's continue on a little bit more of that light there, like that. Try to pick up a bit of the dark there, like that. It's kind of neat. And here, a few little touches of the light, even on the dark side here, just a bit. Let's find that dark. If your paint starts to tack up, some of this is getting a little tacky. Make sure you feed some extender to it here. Been painting an hour, so a little over an hour, so it's a little bit tacky. Let's get this nice dark right in here. We'll get that grayed light here coming in, coming out like that. Feed in that leaf there, like that. And sometimes you can add a little more pine green or a little light to that green, just to change it up a bit. Don't make it as light as the flowers though, but you can get it a little bit lighter. Let's try to pull in here. There we go. It's kind of nice. And take a bit of our lighter color here for that vein line. Let's put a little shadow there next to it. There. Go. Yeah, just kind of put a little bit of light out there on the edge, and just to lift that leaf a touch. Let's out through here. I'll whisper a few little touches here and there. Not painting quite as specifically or anything, just a few little touches of light hitting here and there. Like little edges and stuff like that. But I won't go into great detail of a leaf here. Not into great detail. Just a little bit of our grayed lights here, like that. Sometimes little strokes like that. That just adds to the painting. Here we had some leaves out here, and let's get some more of our darks here as well. Darker rich greens, dark greens, some more stuff going on, maybe a bit of real dark green, and then you pick up some of that light, a bit of light color. This is where when I start painting fast like this again, is where I really start to like it. If this is set back a little bit of shadow into that, it's where I really start to like it. I can give more shape to a leaf just by giving it its edge Drawing down the halfway there and putting a little bit of shadow on it. Here, let's push back into here, shape up the back side of that flower and pull down like that. And you see that kind of rounds that. Take some red violet right with that green, and let's push in a little bit of red, like there's a nice deep. Let's take a little quinacridone and maybe a touch of that brown madder and some of that reds there, and push some nice red right into the depth of that shadow right in there. And that will create some, there's something else in there, some other color, maybe a little turning part of one right in there, but you don't need to have that detail in there. Let's get a little green into that right in there as well. We don't need to have a tremendous amount of detail in there. Maybe a little bit of a lighter stroke, too light. Push it back. Maybe there's something right in there. Push a little green into that. See, there's something in there, down in there, and it's real pretty like that. Fun painting like this. Let's take some of our green and red violet. That green and red violet is so important to here. Varying the amounts of the green and red violet together just gives you all these cool colors and important colors here, and contrasting colors. Again, like I say, right in here, let's pop in some of that right in underneath that leaf there. Maybe there's this other one coming back the other way, lighter leaf here that sits underneath that one. But we'll push that one in there. Maybe even one further back that's right here. And then we'll push all of that back with some of our green that helps us shape it up. Push this shadow in there. See, it helps us shape that up. Push that shadow right in here. That gives you ultimate contrast right in there. Sometimes I would do a contact and a form shadow, or cast shadow, right in there, underneath something like that, pushing it back. There's so many ways, but even if I come in here and shape this up a little bit, like that's just a little cast shadow right there like that. Look at what that adds to that painting. I don't always add cast shadows to real florals and stuff, but they do, we do in Dutch painting and stuff, and it adds a lot. It adds a lot of dimension in separating forms. Cast shadows do. There's that. Separating some of your elements and stuff works really well. Let's put just a bit of green. Green. Different green. Down through. Here, see, building it up a bit. And I'm going to just turn this and put a little bit lighter, not quite as toned gray-green here. Right here on the edge of this. Bring that a little bit lighter, a little bit more gray, but lighter. Right in there. Lifting that leaf up like that, just a touch. Now you can really start to see some of the differences there. Let's get some more grade greens here. And just feel for some shape. A little dark. A little movement, a little bit of that red. Boom. Right there, right off that edge there. Maybe a touch of that light. Boom. Maybe that's one. Right back there, see? Boom. Right there, that adds, you don't want to distract too much and make it too light or too warm, but a little bit of cool there And that there, see, that just, boom, there's one there. There's, one right here. Boom. Right in there. Let's put just a little bit of the red stroke there. Yeah, one sitting right there. Let's pop off this green. Nice gray-green leaf here. We wanted one right there. Let's pop that off. Get a little pine green and red violet as our shadow. Get that right around the edge of that flower. Pop that there. And let's get a little bit lighter. A little bit lighter. Here. Pull that in.